YouTube, what's good? Senju, back at it again with another video. For today, we are talking about the good, bad, and the ugly when it comes to Duet Night Abyss. Now, I realize that there's going to be a lot of people that do not want to hear this video. They are not going to want to see this title and say, oh my god, as a developer, why would I want to watch this? This guy's going to dump all over my game. He's going to make me feel uncomfortable. No. The purpose of these videos are to get out unscripted constructive feedback on what I've just played, and I'm going to tell you that out the gate, for some titles it's going to be a horrible experience for them, just a bad day in paradise, because I don't think that the gaming community is going to allow people to just endlessly run them over anymore when it comes to Western gaming. A lot of people are being vocal about what they do not like, and games are dying when they're hot garbage. Duet Night Abyss is not one of those games. I know, I could feel somebody's stomach that was just dropping suddenly rise up to the rooftop again. Duet Night Abyss is not a horrible game. In fact, Duet Night Abyss is an absolute W. I'm just gonna be frank and tell you that there is very little that I could find that is bad or ugly about Duet Night Abyss. So, let's start off with the good, why don't we? Because when we get into the bad, it might be a long talk. But not a long talk as in there's a lot of topics that are bad. It just might be a long talk as in, for the issue that I have with the bad, I can't for the life of me understand why it even is an issue, but we'll get into that in a moment. Let's start off with the good, whereas first we talk about the campaign. So, Duet Night Abyss is being pitched as a dual protagonist campaign, and I believe that the second protagonist is kind of the antagonist to the original protagonist that you choose, and it is a very creative story. I will tell you right out the gate that it is very rare that I do not want to press the skip button when it comes to a campaign, because as a writer myself, I understand very clearly that when it comes to immersing people in video style content, you need to be engaging, but you also need to have a reason for people to want to sit down and spend more than 30 seconds these days listening to you yap. And when it comes to campaigns, that is a forgotten art. In most cases, most people will just throw you into some half-baked AI designed campaign and hope that it lasts long enough for you to get to the cash shop. And unfortunately, that is a recipe that has been working because people don't like to read, so they press the skip button, and when they press the skip button, what happens? You immediately get bombarded with the cash shop window the second that you finish the campaign. In some cases, you don't even finish the campaign. You get through the first two missions and then they teach you how to use the cash shop as part of a tutorial mission. It's a very roundabout way of saying, hey, we need you to take out a second mortgage and pay for our financial imbalances. We took out too much money trying to make this title when we know we didn't need to, so we're gonna make you pay for it. That is just an unfortunate circumstance that most people just fail to realize. However, as I was saying, back to the point here, it is very rare that in a campaign I do not want to press the skip button. Duet Night Abyss is one of those games, and I'm not saying that to glaze them. They legitimately have a cooking campaign over here. Now, mind you, from what we know, based off of the beta preview that they put out a couple of weeks ago, each main city is supposed to have its own campaign. And at the end of the campaign mission that we were able to play within the closed beta here, you are going to a new location. So it leads me to believe that the main campaign is to take progress across all of the main zones in the story, while there is a zone specific campaign going on inside of each one that you visit, which is a huge W, and I thoroughly appreciate that, because that means that this is going to be one of those titles, if my prediction is correct, that you are able to enjoy the story throughout the entirety of your play experience just going through the main campaign, which is unlocking the rest of the map. Those kinds of campaigns are genius because each one of these zones in the game can be designed directly with the intention of teaching you how to do certain mechanics in certain zones, unlocking certain vendors in certain zones, unlocking certain areas that you normally wouldn't be able to find if you weren't playing the campaign, and that helps with the exploration and just the attention to detail when it comes from the developer, but it also helps with the retention of wanting people to play your campaign. But Along with all of that, under the dual campaign umbrella, you need to have a great narrative, and they have it. I don't know who's the narrative team over there because I haven't looked into that yet, but whoever is writing the storybook over there is absolutely cooking. I mean, they're putting their draws in it right now. It makes zero sense. The campaign is genuinely that good, to the point where I was looking in the beta, and even though the beta is for you to test out everything else, I was trying to figure out if there was a way for me to continue the campaign, because I genuinely enjoy the campaign and I want to play it. It's rare. I have not played a campaign in so long where I'm like, dude, why couldn't I just play the entire campaign in the beta? It is a rare occurrence, and I'm extremely excited to report that Duet Night Abyss campaign-wise is going to be an absolute hit, knocked out of the park. I would not be surprised that if the game launches this year, even with GTA 6 launching, because we know it's either launching this year or next year, I would not be surprised if Duet Night Abyss campaign gets thrown up in the Game Awards for narrative success, because it is just that good. So, in addition to a campaign with dual campaign narratives and all of the great narrative direction, you need to have what? A great voice acting team. Boy, oh boy, voice acting has been a lost art over the past 10 or so years. It has been horrible. People have been very monotone. They've been coming across sounding like they're reading off recipes from grandma's book versus actually depicting what the characters are meant to depict. If a character is falling down and he's supposed to have an emotionless fall, they would be able to nail it, because it would their voices would sound like nails bouncing off of a rubber wall. There's no emotion, there's no depth. But when it comes to Duet Night Abyss, for some odd reason, the British English voice actors are absolutely killing it. It is very rare that you are able to listen to anime styled characters English dub wise for a very long time, because the voice actors tend to do unnecessary things. They want to scream at high pitched screams. They want to exaggerate parts that don't need to be exaggerated and do the very kawaii thing. And it's a very cringe like experience when you listen to English voice actors trying their best to be the character, when instead they just need to voice act or act out the voice. The British voice actors have been able to actually nail that to the point where you are listening and you are watching and you are observing what's going on in the campaign, and it is a very thorough, enjoyable experience. That's something that cannot be overstated. The voice actors are killing it. However, in addition to all of that, to tie it all together for just the campaign alone, the boss fights, brother, let me tell you, when you start off the campaign, and this is going to be as spoiler free as possible, there is a boss that you fight that darn near beats the living daylights out of you, sends you to the upper room, brings you back down, has a cup of tea with you to make you feel good about the whooping that you just received, and then gives you part 2. And then you're sitting here going, what did I do to deserve all this? Who on earth did I piss off? Because if it wasn't God himself, then why are you here beating the living daylights out of me? I didn't buy a round trip ticket to the upper room, but that's what it feels like. The bosses in this game are here to give you a fight, and that is a good thing. I hope that they make each one more difficult, because pushover bosses are not what you want in Pinnacle content. And considering the fact that these bosses that you meet in the campaign are also going to be nightmare bosses for the multiplayer experience, they need to be beating the living daylights out of people. Shoot, stoplights should be going red trying to tell you to stop the fight. That's how good these boss fights are. I'm not even kidding. I got to the second boss fight in the campaign and I thought I was watching a Transformers movie. I thought Michael Bay was behind the screen. That's how good the fight was. The cinematics, the theatrics, the voice acting, the animations on the fight, the colors, the progression from one transition of the screen to the next transition, the cadence of the fight, the longevity, the abilities that you were able to do. The fights are grand. It's like if you were to take a Final Fantasy Online boss and condense it into a campaign, and that's what you had. That's what they got going on here. That's how good it is. I know I'm glazing them like a traditional donut here, but it is that good. They earned all the glaze when it comes to their campaign. Now, to get on to part 2 of the good, we need to talk about the free-to-play experience, because at the end of the day, it would be bad if I did not mention that this game has a cash shop. A lot of people are talking about the cash shop and they're talking about the Warframe-like mechanics. We need to talk about how free-to-play friendly the game is with the addition of the cash shop. It's a different experience when you go to Duet Night Abyss, because in Duet Night Abyss, even with the gacha-like mechanics, which we'll get into in a different video because I could go over those all day, but with the gacha-like mechanics in Duet Night Abyss, the free-to-play experience is completely different from playing other gachas. Like if you were to play Wuthering Waves, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, all of these titles want you to take out a second mortgage to be able to play your favorite character. Heck, it feels like when you get a character, you have to sign up for character development insurance at this point, because you need to get 7 new copies of the character just to be able to say that it is a playable character. In this title, if you get a character, you don't feel like you need to get 7 different copies of the character to actually play it, and that's because you have things like the Demon Wedge system, you have things like weapon crafting. The characters in Duet Night Abyss feel more like a platform for your weaponry and your skills rather than the thing that's going to carry you being the actual character at, rank 7. This is huge because when it comes to the free-to-play experience, this means that anybody can pick up Duet Night Abyss. You can get whatever character you want. You can level them up because you don't need to get copies of the character to level them up. You just need the materials, which are just gained by doing in-game activities. And then once all of that is done and you max rank your character, it really comes down to which weapons have you chosen. And that's a very good experience that's really going to help the free-to-play, and it's going to really pull them away from being known as another gacha paywall game and more towards, if you want to get these skins or you want to spin the wheel on getting this character and you get copies of it, you can use it to get copies of the character and then turn them in and use it for Intron, which is basically their copy system. So you're going to hear a lot of I1s and I2s and yada yada yada. And if you do that, yeah, your character might get better, but not so exponentially better that you feel like if someone has a I7 character, then they're just at an unattainable level. It all comes down to the weapon of choice and the mods that you choose to use on these characters. Getting duplicates are just a bonus, but they're not that big. So when it comes to the free-to-play experience of Duet Night Abyss, 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. There's only a couple of things that I would put in as a suggestion, but we will get to that later on. Now, in addition to all of that, I believe it's time that we talk about the character depth. See, when it comes to character depth, there's a lot that goes into making good characters. Now, my main single gripe, and I guess you could kind of put this in the bad category, but I don't think that this is big enough of an issue to put it in the bad category. They've chosen to go with a dual passive system that is fully unlockable by just leveling up your character rather than giving you 2 active abilities and an ultimate. So each character comes with a active ability, an ultimate ability, and 2 passives. The second passive for every character is not unlocked until you ascend your character to rank 3, which, by the way, keep in mind, these are not things that you have to pay for. You just earn the materials in game from doing the activities, and then you ascend your character. And once you get it to rank 3, you just automatically unlock the second passive. Again, remember that the copy system is the Intron system. This is separate from your actual passive system, and this is separate from your skills. There is no, you need to get a copy of this character to level up this skill. No longer, especially when playing Duet Night Abyss, are you going to be paywalled from enjoying your favorite character by saying, I have to get another copy just to be able to use the ultimate. I have to get another copy just to be able to sit there and rank my ability to level 2. No, you play the game and you're able to enjoy what you earned or paid for, depending on how you chose to get your character. And that is a very, very good thing when it comes to character depth, because with the characters, you're able to equip demon wedges, which is basically their mod system. So you can further enhance your characters by increasing their HP, their defense, their shields, the damage that their skills are going to be able to do. And certain characters have proficiencies with weapons, like Rebecca, she's really good with pole arms. And then you have people like Berenica, who are really good with katanas. So Characters come with their own backstory, their own lore. You will meet them in the main campaign, which really helps to drive you to choosing which characters you want to play. And then on top of that, once you earn them, you can play however you want to play with them, which really helps with build diversity and character depth. Not only that, because the characters act more as a platform for your favorite weapons and your favorite combat style, again, the character depth is further enhanced because it really boils down to which skills are going to play best with your playstyle. Of course, there's going to be stronger characters than others because some are going to be support, some are going to be tanks, some are going to be full DPS, some are going to be hybrids, but it comes down to your preference as a player and what you choose to enjoy. And because you don't have to get copies of the character to unlock the basic things that you need to use to just get to the point where you can build your character, I will say that the character depth in this game, 8 out of 10. A solid 8 out of 10. So, with all that being said, this is going to be controversial, but there's zero pay to win in this game. Zero. See, a lot of people are going to go and say, it's a gacha game, it's pay to win. I would implore that you guys start using the common sense that was given to you by, your moms and whatnot, and stop taking what everybody says on the internet with a full pint of table salt. You're supposed to take it with a grain of salt. Keep in mind that everybody's review is a personal opinion personified. So even with everything that I'm giving you here, this is my personal review. This is what I enjoyed. But I still want you to go in when the game comes out for the open beta and enjoy it for yourself, because you might have a different perspective. There might be things that I enjoyed that you don't enjoy. And that's the whole purpose here. This is just to give you a guideline to reciprocate what I've been able to enjoy about the game and give you a full review on what there is to expect when it comes with Duet Night Abyss. And with that, there is zero pay to win. See, with gacha games, the pay to win comes from you getting multiple different characters and then outdoing everybody else because your wallet was bigger. That's not the case here. There's multiple ways to earn characters. There's multiple ways to craft the highest tier weapons so you don't have to pay for them. There's multiple ways to get to the end game so you don't need to have a specific character. We don't need to go through the Diluc era. We don't need to go through having the best character in Wuthering Waves or Genshin or Honkai Star Rail to get here anymore. There is no, if my team isn't compiled this way, I can't clear this content. Again, it comes down to how do you choose to play? How are you going to mod your character? What weapons are you going to use? Of course, certain weapons are going to be better in certain situations because of certain status effects. And again, we'll get into that in a different video. But when it comes down to pay to win, there isn't a single point in the beta specifically where I felt like if I didn't buy this item, I wasn't able to do this content. And we all know that the very definition of pay to win is if I pay for this, I'm better than you at this content. Not a single point ever in this beta did I play and I said, because I bought this item, I did better than this person. Because you could have what could be theoretically the best character in the game and still dump the bid. It's very possible to do that. You could have the best character in the game and still get the living daylights beat out of you in the in-game pinnacle content when it comes to bossing. Because there is no way for you to just pay your way through that content. You need to understand the mechanics. You need to have your characters built the right way. And because you can't buy the mods, because you can't sit there and swipe for the best weapons outside of doing the gacha mechanics, there is very little to no pay to win. Because you can craft all of the weapons, because you can craft the mods, because all of the mods are available by just doing base in-game activities, because you can get very easy characters to sit there and use as platforms for your favorite playstyle. So when it comes to pay to win, I'm giving this, again, an 8 out of 10, because pay to win is very non-existent in this title. And again, this is why I was saying I think that this game has the potential to really be in a lane of its own when it comes to the gacha mechanics. Now, in addition to all of that, we are talking about the player housing, the weapon crafting, and great, player progression. We need to get to the bad, because this is a beast in all of its own. And I think that this is one of those small niche categories where if left unchecked, it could get very bad for Duet Night Abyss. And it's hilarious that out of everything that is good about this game, that sets it apart from everybody else, this one small issue could cause such a huge problem that the game could die on contact because of it. And As we get into the bad, we talk about why on earth is there a stamina system in this game? Somebody explain it to me. And I know, as I said that, people fell out the chair. Grandma, who was putting cookies on the table, dropped all the cookies. They're all over the floor. The milk that was left out for Santa has spoiled. Why on earth is there a stamina system in this game that prevents you from doing activities as much as you want? Get rid of it. I don't care what you gotta do, get rid of it. This is not the way to increase playtime. And this is where it gets bad for you people at Duet Night Abyss. You really need to understand that monkey see, monkey do when it comes to all the game mechanics is not always a good idea. Adding a stamina system is not a good idea, especially when you are already going to be labeled as a bad game because you have gacha-like mechanics. I don't know at what point that idea was brought up, but this is my official form of feedback. Get rid of the stamina system. I'm not saying this to make myself feel good. No, the general consensus when it comes to things like stamina systems in a game where you are meant to play as long as you want to play is very contradictory to the way that the playstyle is developed for these games, especially for Duet Night Abyss. Seemingly, you have game modes that are endless, where you can play them as much as you want, where you can go to level cap, where you can farm as many materials as you want. And it's almost as if when you get into the game mode, you're punished for wanting to do that by going, well, I don't have enough stamina points to run this activity as much as I want to. Let me go ahead and just quit for the day. That in the long run is going to slowly pull players away because they're going to play. And what's going to happen is eventually they're going to get tired of wanting to get in and get their activities done and only being able to progress so far because you prevent them from doing it because you want to increase playtime day in and day out. That's not going to work. People are not as dumb as they used to be. It's not going to work anymore. You have got to get rid of that stamina system, especially because the stamina system isn't even applied to the pinnacle content. The pinnacle content resets every week, and you get loot as long as you want, as long as you're grinding within the weekly limit, which is so high, by the way, that you're guaranteed to get all the good loot within 1 week if your RNG is good, which is a good thing because some people are going to get very rewarded and some people are going to have a reason to come back the very next week. And because it's on a weekly reset, you can come in and come out whenever you feel like it, so you don't feel like you're getting penalized. With the stamina system not even being applied to the pinnacle content, it's being applied to the base content. People have no reason to grind as much as they want to because you're just rocking their progression back and forth. Progression should be a system that should not be tampered with. It should be linear, not vertical. So when you look at character progression, you look at the mod system, you look at the weapon mod system, you look at the demon wedge system, everything is tied to the base content, which is locked behind a stamina system. So when you look at all of this as a developer, you should know how uncomfortable that's going to be for a lot of people. You should know how non-player friendly that system is. Get rid of it, because that right there is what's going to kill the game long term when it fully launches. When people get in and they go, I don't get to actually play this system as much as I want to because once I get 3 runs in, I'm cooked. I have to turn in the in-game currency and convert it. It's just a long, convoluted system that doesn't need to be there. Get rid of it. You have weekly resets on pinnacle content. You have so many in-game activities that people can play for as long as they want to. I don't care if you have to lower the drop rates to increase the playtime. Increasing playtime by arbitrarily locking them behind a system that doesn't need to be there is not a good idea. And if you want your game to survive, especially in this kind of economy where everybody is going to war with their wallets for breakfast, you need to get rid of the stamina system and let the players play, especially when you put the system on base game non-pinnacle content that is supposed to help with linear progression. That is a consistent issue that we ran into in the beta that was unanimously voted against by darn near every creator, including myself, because it drastically slowed the progression for everybody to a point where they didn't want to play. Because they wanted to play with their buddies, but they couldn't because they didn't have the stamina to play. They wanted to sit there and do other activities and grind other characters up, but they couldn't because they didn't have the stamina to play. If they were already experiencing this in the closed beta, what do you think is going to happen when the game fully launches and millions of players get their hands on it, only to realize that the issue has been pretty much exasperated to the point where people do not want to play your title anymore because they know that the second they get in, they got about 2 hours to run content and then they're done. It is a horrible system. It needs to go, and it never needs to be implemented in a gacha again. And I understand I'm very critical about this, but I'm invested in making Duet Night Abyss the best game it could possibly be. Whether they take this feedback or not and they actually implement it is beyond me, and I hope they do. But as of right now, the only thing that is bad about Duet Night Abyss is the stamina system preventing you from being able to enjoy the title the way that you want to enjoy it and not the way that you are regulated to enjoy it. Rules and regulations on base stuff like this sucks. And it doesn't need to be implemented. Now, with all that being said, the official review on Duet Night Abyss is that it is a game that has an extremely high ceiling with a lot of promise, and I believe that with the right direction and the right changes being implemented, that Duet Night Abyss could be a contender for Game of the Year next year. It could be, honestly, because the campaign is that good and they are doubling down on their multiplayer experience with the addition of the Demon Wedge system, with the addition of the weapon platformings through weapon crafting, and the very free-to-play experience that they do have with the gacha system, but also being able to get characters the way that you actually want to get them. I think that if they have a set content schedule where they do giant story releases and major character releases, and they're able to implement new game modes and maybe even do dungeons and raids, brother, the things that Duet Night Abyss could do is endless, and they could really be in a lane of their own. And I really hope that they do, because I'm going to be playing it the second that it launches, and I'm going to stick with it as much as I can. However, if this stamina system launches, we are going to have a big problem with Duet Night Abyss. As of right now, my official rating for Duet Night Abyss coming out of the beta is a solid 8 out of 10. There is nothing ugly about Duet Night Abyss, and there's only one thing that is bad about Duet Night Abyss. The game is in good hands, and I hope that it has a good future. So without further ado, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. In the comments section, I want you to get active and describe to me, what do you think the definition of a gacha game really is? Because I really want to see what people are thinking when it comes to gacha games. And without further ado, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take it easy.